not going to say anything disparaging against her. I have to see what her stomach is.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I am Margaret Perot, the President and CEO of the Batavia Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber wants to promote an environment that creates success for local businesses to advance and prosper in a vibrant community. As an organization whose mission is to advocate for business and economic development, the Chamber has a special interest in knowing what is happening in government. The Batavia Chamber has 475 businesses and 1,600 representatives. But more importantly, the Chamber is made up of citizens who live and work in our area. This is our home. Our members want to know who their elected officials are and where they stand on issues that affect us all. We are happy to co-sponsor the Candidate Forum with the League of Women Voters tonight because we believe people have a right to know what their candidate for public office say about issues that affect our communities. We are privileged to play a role in the democratic process. We all benefit from an open exchange of information and ideas. A candidate forum allows candidates seeking public office to express their views openly so community members can understand their positions and make informed voting choices. The Chamber is happy to maximize this awareness. I want to thank our candidates tonight for participating and thank everyone here for being a part of this forum tonight. I would like to introduce Patty Lackman, the Voter Service Chair of the League of Women Voters. She is an amazing person and an active member of our Batavia Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to invite you, Patty, up to the podium and kick off tonight's events, and thank you very much for asking us to participate. Thanks.
I should say, unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, but some of you have been to our forums before. No, that's not true. Thanks, Margaret. Good evening to all of you. It is our pleasure to partner with the Batavia Chamber of Commerce. Our league, Central Kane County, is a member of the Chamber. We are also partnering with the leagues from the Aurora area, which is new. We just birthed this Aurora area League of Women Voters last July 1st, and the League of Women Voters of Naperville. We all have members who live within the 14th Congressional District, so it's kind of important that we work together on issues like this. You will hear the league rules tonight from our moderator, but I want to say a couple things about how the league was formed by the movement that secured the women's right to vote. And we are 100 years old this year. I think that's pretty impressive. But the league continues to want to ensure that every voice is heard and that everyone has a chance to participate. For that reason, we are very involved and are partnering with, in our own cities, with the Census 2020 people. And I would like to invite Joanne Zillman, who is heading up Batavia Counts, to give us just a few minutes blurb about the Census of 2020.
Everyone. I am Joanne Zillman. I'm the Deputy Director and Youth Services Manager here at the Batavia Public Library. And this year I'm also the co-chair of the Batavia Counts Complete Counts Committee. And I'm happy to be here for just a few minutes to talk to you about how important is the census. Now, I'm sure I'm talking to the choir here, preaching to the choir about how important is the census, but a group of agencies, organizations, and partners, including the League of Women Voters, have joined together this year to educate the public about, and especially in Batavia, about the importance of the census and encourage participation in the census. As you are probably well aware, billions of dollars of funding is determined every year by census data that is collected every 10 years. Billions of dollars, representation, congressional representation, and legislative districting are also all determined by the census, and 2020 is the big year for the census. So I'm just here to say tonight to remind you the census is easy. For this year, for the first time ever, you'll be able to submit your census electronically or paper or via census taker. So when that census form comes out about mid-March and you get notification that it's time to complete your census, we encourage you to do so. It's easy, it's safe, and it's important for all of us, the state of Illinois, and in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. You'll hear about the specifics of the rules of this particular forum tonight from the moderator, but I want to address the candidates right now. I think this is pretty important. The League asks that you refrain from answering a question by stating that you believe what your opponent would do, rather than telling us what you, in fact, would do. The League and members of the community want your opinions. They don't care about what you think somebody else might do. That's what we're going to base our votes on. So I'm going to ask you to refrain from doing so. And if you do, you will be redirected and brought back on track by our lovely moderator. And now I want to introduce Jan Dorner, our moderator.
Welcome to the candidate forum put on by the Leagues of Women Voters of Aurora, Naperville, and Central Kane County and the Batavia Chamber of Commerce. My name is Jan Dorner, and I'm from the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst, and I also serve on the state board. I live in Congressional District 5, so I don't have a vote in this. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties for any office. The League's purpose is to promote political responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government. Providing this forum allows citizens to become better informed about the issues facing their community and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. We are happy to provide this service for you. At this time, I would ask that you please turn off cell phones and other electronic devices. I would also ask that you refrain from applauding or in any other way demonstrating support or opposition of a candidate. No campaign literature may be passed out in this room, but feel free to put your campaign bling on again once you leave this room. No cards and pencils have been provided on which to submit your questions. Questions will be screened only for duplication, clarity, and appropriateness to the office being discussed. Please signal a League volunteer when your question is ready for submission. Also signal a volunteer if additional note cards are needed. We'll start this forum with those seeking to be the Republican candidate for the 14th Congressional District. The candidates have agreed to abide by the rules set forth prior to this forum. They will each present a 2-minute introductory statement. The order to start is alphabetical. Then questions obtained from the floor will be asked, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond in alternating order. Closing statements will be 2 minutes. LWV members will keep time. You saw the timer over there. And candidates, I ask that you adhere to the time limits. Candidates, you've seen the timers. When you see the stop sign, you may finish your sentence. I believe in letting you finish your sentence, but when you start using compound sentences, I will stop you. So for the 14th Congressional District, Republican candidates, Anthony Catella, Jerry Evans, Ted Gradall, Catalina Loff, James Jim Martyr, and Jim Oberweis. Jim Oberweis replied to our invitation that he was too busy, and then Sue Rosen.
Thank you.
So let's start with Anthony Catella with your opening statement.
Thank you. Fellow citizens, fellow candidates, there is nothing wrong about America that cannot be fixed with what is right about America. I remember Bill Clinton saying that in his inaugural in 1993. Well, now, 107 years later, we can see what is right versus what is wrong with America. What is wrong about America is a bankrupt nation with radical big government socialist schemes which destroy jobs, take away our right to private health insurance, give us higher taxes, open our borders, strip away freedoms, and impose total government control over our lives. This is wrong about America, and anyone who wants this for America is wrong. Fear not, because this is correctable with what is right about America. Here is what is right about America. Prosperity and success, which puts America first. Not first if, not first but, not first when. No, America first, period. When America is first, the hopes for peace increase, and the cause of freedom stands to gain. And how are we first? Because of what is right about America. Policies that give us a thriving economy, 6.3 million new jobs, tax reductions, record unemployment, stronger military defense establishment, and secure borders which maintain our sovereignty and social stability. This is what is right about America. Our country, when right, to be kept right. Because, and when wrong, to be put right. Because, my fellow citizens, America wrong is America weak. America right is America strong. Thank you very much.
Next is Jerry Evans.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Evans. I'm a small businessman, entrepreneur, educator, and truly a political insider. I have a beautiful wife, Lisa, an amazing 1.5-year-old son, Michael, and I founded a music school that has around 275 to 300 students. I'm a Christian, and I'm absolutely unashamed of that. First, I want you to know that I truly do respect every candidate who is on the stage tonight. It takes courage and conviction to be here. Second, I believe tonight is about transparency, so that you, the voters, can make informed decisions based upon your convictions. We all know that career politicians have an angle in politics and are often indebted to others at this point in their career. I want you to know that I'm Jerry Evans. I have no angle, other than a passion for service and a care for the district. There are a lot of good candidates here on the stage, except for the one who decided not to show up. But I am here because I'm excited to share with you that I'm the candidate in the race who has been and will always be transparent on the issues from day one. Since day one of announcing my campaign, I've had my issues and beliefs posted on my website. And 2 weeks ago, I announced my top 5 issues that I plan to address in my first term, which include healthcare, immigration, tax cuts, defending life, and ending human trafficking once and for all. This week, I decided to go one step further and announce my detailed policy plan to fix healthcare in America. I'm the only candidate in the race who has gone on record to address healthcare in a detailed manner, point by point. When we're done, I would love if you would grab a copy of my healthcare plan outside. Thank you again to everyone in this room and the League of Women Voters, and I would be honored to have your support. Thank you.
Ted Gradall.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for the important work you do. My name is Ted Gradall, and tonight I'm asking for your vote in the March 17th primary for the 14th Congressional District. Briefly on my background, I was adopted at birth into a very loving, hard-working family. I'm the son of a small business owner, a paving contractor. I'm a husband of nearly 30 years and a father to 3 wonderful daughters. In college, I earned the starting field goal kicker's job as a walk-on at Notre Dame. And from modest beginnings as a runner at the Chicago Board of Trade, I've built a 30-year career in the financial markets, starting literally with $3,000 in a dream. If you look at my life, you'll see a track record and history of taking on tough challenges and finding a way to be successful through hard work and perseverance. Now, after that 30-year career in the private sector, I'm planning to enter public service. I'm not doing this because I have to. I'm doing this because I love our country, and I believe in the ideals and principles of the United States of America. I'm running for Congress because I believe in all of us more than I believe in the political elites. I believe we deserve to keep more of our hard-earned dollars in our own pockets. I believe in that wonderful, amazing document we have called the Constitution. I'll fight to protect our freedoms every single day. and I believe it's time for term limits for members of the House and Senate. I'll fight to hold government accountable. I look forward to discussing the important issues we face as a community, a state, and a nation this evening, and I hope to earn your vote on March 17th.
Catalina Law.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. I'm Catalina Lauf. I was born and raised here in the district. My mother immigrated here from Guatemala. My father is a small business owner, and I grew up with the values of the American dream. And today I see that American dream under attack by the far left. And in order to preserve that, we need new people, new faces, and new energy on the side of freedom. I've spent 5 years in the private sector. I was appointed by President Trump to work at the Department of Commerce in Washington, D.C. I hope to earn your support tonight, and I hope that you think about the future and the future of the American dream.
James Martyr.
Thank you, League of Women Voters. God bless all you for being here and being active in your community and coming out for this. I'm James Martyr for Congress in the 14th District, a district President Trump won. I love America and our freedoms and our Constitution, our Republican form of government, which is passed from one generation to another, understanding that life and liberty must be defended by every generation. I will join the House Freedom Caucus like Congressman Representative Jim Jordan from Ohio. I support President Trump and put America first. I will stand and fight for our Second Amendment rights. I respect our flag. I'll defend our Constitution. I will fight for conservative, pro-life, and pro-family values. And I support term limits. I will secure the border, support immigration limits and reform, including blocking immigrants from terrorist states, eliminating sanctuary cities, cutting big spending, and big government. Democrat Lauren Underwood wants to turn the American dream into the socialist nightmare, along with leader Nancy Pelosi. She voted for the sham impeachment and believes the targeting of an evil terrorist who killed Americans on our sovereign soil at our U.S. Embassy was a mistake. I'm a leader you can trust with global experience in international business and manufacturing. I'm an entrepreneur, small business owner who meets with workers on the factory line, in the laboratories, in the warehouses, and executives in the boardroom. As your congressman, I'll be relentless in the pursuit of cutting the size and scope of the federal government. And I will work hard to ensure that you get to keep the fruits of your labor and keep America great. God bless you. God bless America. I'm asking for your vote.
Sue Rosen.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters. Thank you to the Chamber. It is an honor to be here in front of all of you. I am State Senator Sue Rosen. And thank you, Patty, for introducing us, who is a teacher. My mom, too, was a teacher, and that's what I grew up with. And people ask me often, because I sit on panels and I talk about the importance of helping women be leaders. And they ask, who's the pivotal person in your life growing up? And I remember my mom, who worked on the farm and at night would always go back to school to become a teacher. And she continued to go to night school to become a principal, ultimately becoming a superintendent. I remember in the middle of that, my mom sitting at a desk and typing away, typing an application for several weeks. And it was an application for her to become the first teacher astronaut in space. Remember that? In the 1980s. Now, she didn't get it. However, it wasn't lost upon me, young at the time, that she thought she could be that person. And that thought never has left me, because with opportunity, the possibilities in this country are limitless. And I want the same thing for my kids, who are now in their 20s. I was a stay-at-home mom. I worked in our commercial real estate company. I managed that. I was a stay-at-home mom, and at the time, I served on numerous boards locally, which are incredibly important because that's what everybody in this room does. We're trying to solve problems locally. I do the same now that I have been asked to run, and I've served at the state level for 10 years. I am in the super minority, And I have gotten results despite being in the super minority. I will take that tenacity to Springfield or to Washington, D.C., and do the same. Work on the same issues that I have in Springfield, such as fair maps, and also working on local programs such as a high school internship program and my flood resiliency program. And I look forward to talking about it.
Thank you. Jerry Evans, what would you do to ensure that sensible gun safety legislation is passed? Do you support red flag laws?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think this is an absolute essential question that we need to be talking about. And the Second Amendment is an absolute essential amendment that we need to be talking about. First off, I want to let you know very strongly that I strongly back the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is essential for a healthy and free society and a non-tyrannical society. On top of that, what I would say is I would actually focus more so on addressing issues like mental health and addressing other issues that would lead to gun violence, and make sure that we are allowing people to continue to have the opportunity to bear arms and protect themselves. In addition to that, I have struggled to find any way, according to data, where a red flag law has worked and actually been effective. So why would we actually take away someone's freedom, and why would we take away something regarding their right when we're struggling to find data to actually support that red flag law working? So those are my positions on that, but again, I want to say I strongly support the Second Amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Ted Gradall.
Anytime we see violence in our communities, it truly is a tragedy, and we need to have those discussions, absolutely. I do think we need to get the politics out of this, and as my colleague Jerry Evans said, mental health, the issue of mental health in this country needs to be addressed. My understanding is that gun deaths, the highest proportion of that highest percentage is from suicides. I feel like the Second Amendment is an important constitutional right, a vital right that we have, and so I will fight to protect our Second Amendment rights.
Catalina Loth.
No, I do not support red flag laws. There's not enough research indicating that they have any effect when a tragedy strikes. It is the person, not the gun, and it is very important that we respect the Second Amendment. It shall not be infringed.
Thank you. James Martyr.
I agree. I do not support red flag laws. We're taking away the rights of not only law-abiding gun owners, but every American who has the right to defend themselves. And it's an unconstitutional usurpation of that right because it's taking away the due process. So I support the due process clause, and that's why I don't support red flag laws. I'm an NRA member, ISRA member, Gun Save Live member. I have my FOID card, my concealed carry card. But my FOID card is the Second Amendment. I stand by it 100%. And if you look at places where there are good, responsible gun laws that allow folks to carry properly, you see that folks are much safer. We need to implement that in schools and public places and everywhere else where we can defend the people that we're bringing together every day.
Sue Rosen.
As a mother, I'm incredibly concerned about the active shooters that we're seeing coming into our school districts. I am a supporter of the NRA. I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment. The NRA supports me and has supported me in the 4 elections that I've run and won. However, I am the only person that is sitting up here that supports a law that protects people that are mentally deteriorating in their home. I'll give you a perfect example. I had somebody call my office and said that he was going to go into my schools and shoot them up, okay? Now, if somebody was in his home and they saw that he was mentally deteriorating, he should have, or that person should have the ability to go to the sheriff and through due process to go to the judge, take away the gun if this person is harmful, and he was.
Thank you. Anthony Catella.
I certainly do believe in the right to keep and bear arms according to the Second Amendment for a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So I think it is also with respect to the horrible violence that guns are used to perpetrate by the wrong people, by people who are unbalanced, have nothing to lose. There's got to be a balance between rights and responsibilities. Now, we have the right, according to the Second Amendment, to keep and bear arms, and this I support. But we also have a responsibility to use these weapons, or use these tools, according to the decency and respect for self and others.
Ted Gradall, what plans do you have to make sure people, your constituents, don't lose access to health care and safeguard pre-existing conditions?
Thank you. I have a pre-existing heart condition. My wife survived early stage breast cancer, and my middle daughter has juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. So it truly is a personal mission of mine to protect those of us who live with pre-existing conditions. I feel like we need to get back to free market solutions to our health care and not turn over 20% of our entire economy to the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. So we need price transparency. We need insurance sold across state lines. We need insurance plan choice. You should be able to select the plan that's best for you and your family, or you as an individual, not a one-size-fits-all plan from Washington, D.C. We need increased access to telemedicine. That would give more preventative care options to more people. We need insurance that's portable. We need tort reform to reduce the costs associated with defensive medicine, nearly $50 billion a year. So getting back to free market solutions will help protect all of us.
Thank you. Catalina Loff?
I was out door knocking the other day, and a woman was telling me that the most important issue for her in this election was health care. It's one of the reasons why she voted for Lauren Underwood. However, we have a huge problem with the way Obamacare was crafted. Under the Trump administration, Republicans do want to keep and safeguard people with pre-existing conditions, but we need to respect the patient and doctor relationship. Under Obamacare, a lot of people lost that relationship. And we need to go back to free market principles and ensuring that we have quality health care, but also understanding the cost.
Thank you. James Martyr.
You know, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. I think some of my colleagues here must have been reading my post the last 5 years. Look, the way we protect folks is we restore free markets in healthcare. The government's been interfering in our lives far too long. As a small business owner, I left my great corporate job with SAP America Chicago office in 2002, went out on my own. First thing I did was shop for insurance in the formerly free private insurance market. Covered my family of 6, my wife and our 4 children, for about $5,000 to $6,000. Fast forward to Obamacare passage, we were just under $8,000, or just a little around there for that. In this year, 2020, my wife and I, our kids are all grown up, $30,000 a year. It's not affordable. Deductibles went through the roof, and so did copays, and so did your out-of-pocket costs all across the board. It's a disaster, needs to be repealed. I don't get enough time to get into all the details, but I agree with what the other gentleman said about this as well.
Sue Rosen?
Thank you. And this goes to the heart of the chamber. The middle class small businesses will never be allowed to grow until we fix this problem, because it's the single largest expense that a small business has. And the reason that we're still having this discussion after 10 years is because both parties are guilty for not getting it right. The problem is healthcare is not affordable and it's not accessible. People are suffering. We talk to them every day. My husband and I have very good insurance, but yet my brother, who's an independent truck driver, does not. I am the only person, though, recognizing that actually passed a bill in the Senate and in the House that protects people with pre-existing conditions. So when we are working on this problem, we make sure that the most vulnerable are covered as we work through this problem in Washington, D.C.
Thank you. Anthony Catella?
Well, healthcare, I believe, should be a job of the private sector, and insurance should be a matter of choice, and it should be affordable and go across state lines. But there also should be alternative medicines. I think in many ways, I don't really believe in the use of, in some instances, drugs, medical drugs, pharmaceutical drugs are important to help people. But I think alternative medicine is such a better alternative. Natural medications and a healthy lifestyle. Just be healthy, eat right, sleep properly, exercise, have a good outlook, do things that are constructive and positive and affirmative in your life. We'll stay healthy. We won't need to go to doctors. Anyway, but I also think that the state of a family's wealth must never be determined by the state of a family's wealth must never be determined by the size of a family's wealth. And that's it.
Thank you. Jerry Evans.
Thank you. I think there's a reason why this is one of the most important issues, or the most important issue on people's hearts. As a parent myself, and as parents and siblings out there would know that we would do anything to make sure that our children are healthy. We would do anything possible to go ahead and make sure that our spouse is healthy or my family members are healthy. And even if my son gets a small little sniffle, I'll do anything just to help him get better as quickly as possible. We know this is a very, very, very crucial issue, and I want to let you know that I fully support taking this issue head on in Congress. First off, I want to let you know very solidly that I do want to protect people with pre-existing conditions. I've been through parasites and survived that. I've been through Lyme disease and I've survived that. I know what it's like to be down and out. And so I want to make sure that those who are going through those pre-existing conditions have an opportunity to get coverage. On top of that, I did recently on Monday release a multiple point plan, just as a starting point to go ahead and deal with the healthcare issue. I'd love for you to grab a copy of that on the way out. And I do support free market solutions as part of the solution to go ahead and make healthcare better in America.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Catalina Loff, would you support a resolution to remove the deadline to pass the ERA? What is your position on the ERA?
Do you mind explaining what the ERA?
Equal Rights Amendment?
No.
Okay. James Murder.
Absolutely not. So the ERA was put out there in the 1970s. In the actual amendment itself, it had a 7-year timeline. That's what you're talking about. That's why folks want to do it. Look, it's not going to make anything equal. We already have a constitution. We already have a Bill of Rights. We have the greatest, freest nation on God's earth. And we take that law, we take it with twisted language and things that the mental gymnastics our judges and our courts are doing these days with all kinds of issues. And it would be a disaster for pro-life groups, pro-life legislation, for protecting our children in schools from this gender dysphoria that's all being pushed upon them. And we need to make sure that doesn't happen in Congress. We should have made sure it didn't happen here in Illinois, in the Senate down and House down in Illinois, but we need to make sure it stopped.
Sue Rosen.
Sure, and thank you again. First of all, pro-life is already decided in this state. There have been bills that are passed, unfortunately, for us pro-life supporters that are supporting and paying for abortions by the state. However, regarding the Equal Rights Amendment, I supported it. And most of the women in Springfield supported the bill because I'm a mother of 2 daughters. I want equal rights for my daughters. I want to at least offer them, a workplace that's equal, pay that's equal. I can't believe that we're still having this discussion, but I think that we need to support the ERA and tell our next generation that they should have, especially women, they should have equal rights in the workplace.
Anthony Catella.
No, I don't believe in the Equal Rights Amendment because women as citizens already have equal rights. They have their opportunities that can help them. Men and women they're not equal in ability or in many other respects. In most respects, men and women are not equal, but they are equal in dignity as human beings and as children of God. That's the thing. We're equal in dignity, with equal rights under the law. And even jobs are not equal, and pay is not equal. But everybody, man and woman, has the equal opportunity to do whatever they are able to do through their God-given talents and abilities.
Thank you. Jerry Evans.
Yeah, I think just as a business owner, having an opportunity to hire both men and women with my music school, I think people having equal rights to go ahead and get a job and not be discriminated against because of their gender is a very, very important issue. And when I go ahead and I give interviews and I take a look at applications, I look at experience, I look at degrees, I look at supply and demand of the position and a number of other factors, and I'm not going to discriminate against someone because of their gender. So what I'm going to be very honest with you about is this. I'm going to be transparent. I need to go ahead and study up on the ERA. And I'm not going to give you a pat political answer, but I'm going to go ahead and study up on it. I'm going to have a better response tomorrow. In regards to the specifics of it, I'm going to look at it. But what I would say is that we need to make sure that when someone walks in to get a job, that they're not discriminated against because of their gender, but people have an opportunity to get a job and have that job and do well. But at the same time, I would not support any type of legislation which would have good intentions but improperly affect a small business like mine or anyone else's like that.
Ted Gradall.
Thank you. As mentioned in my opening comments, I'm the father of 3 daughters, ages 23, 21, and 17. But most of my civic involvement in my adult life has been coaching and mentoring girls and championing the rights of girls in our community. I've coached strictly as a volunteer in close to 2,000 girls' basketball and soccer games in our area. I believe in teaching young ladies to have self-confidence, teaching them to play together as a team. So supporting women's opportunities and mentoring girls has been an important part of my adult life, starting with my 3 daughters. Having said that, deadlines are there for a reason. And when we are looking to amend our Constitution, which is a very important act we have as citizens and as the legislators that we hire, I think those deadlines are established for a reason. And so I would believe that the time has come to let that issue go.
Thank you. James Martyr. What is your plan to combat the effects of climate change?
So that's an interesting question. Climate change has been going on since the beginning of time. We have ice ages that have come and gone. We have had warming periods in the Middle Ages. We've had junk science in the last years where in the early 2000s, let's just say the climate change scientists were all busted for fudging the numbers, and that didn't come out until the late 2000, around 2008, 2010 period. Look, I've been a 17-year scout leader. I'm a conservationist at heart. I want a clean world. I want clean water. I want clean rivers and lakes. I want clean air like everyone else does. But what I see is that we're doing that vis-a-vis the Constitution at the state level. So more responsibility there, less of the federal government. Carbon, it's a natural occurring element. It's in the air. It's in every living substance on Earth. I don't believe it's a toxin that the EPA thinks it is, and we just need to stop the nonsense.
Thank you. Sue Rosen.
Thank you. You first recognize, you stop climate change by first recognizing that the climate's changing. I've worked since 2013 that I had a flood resiliency coalition that I started in 2013 because of unprecedented rainfalls in concentrated areas, unprecedented flooding that we're seeing in our communities that we've never seen before. And as a result, I've put a coalition together of experts from the state and the federal level dealing with flood mitigation and water quality. And every quarter we meet for the last 6 years. As a result, our coalition has received almost $10 million in grants to deal with flood mitigation and increase and improve water quality in our rivers and in our creeks. Thank you.
Anthony Catella.
Climate change. Well, I think we always should look for, always be on the lookout for alternative energy forms and so forth. But I was never good in earth science in high school, and I'm not good at it now, so I think I'll just have to take a pass.
Jerry Evans.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I want to say it is very important to me that we have a clean environment. It is very important to me that we even make our environment better for our children and our grandchildren. And so if we have an opportunity to make water cleaner, why would we not do it? If we have an opportunity to make our air cleaner, why would we not do it? If we have an opportunity to make sure we help wildlife, why would we not do that? But what I would say is that for myself, I very much believe in taking a look at solid scientific data, accomplishing bipartisan solutions, being wise and level-headed about those bipartisan solutions, and specifically approaching solutions that do not shackle our economy or provide cumbersome regulations that are actually ineffective. And so I would want to make sure that we're wise in what we do. And then lastly, I would say, just to make sure it's very clear, I think the Green New Deal, I'm just going to call that the bad deal. It's not a good deal. It's not effective. It's not cost effective as well. So I'm very much against that.
Ted Gradall.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I do echo the fact that I think we all can agree clean air, clean water, conserving our precious natural resources are extremely important. We also have to realize that affordable, reliable energy has helped usher in this vibrant global economy we have today. It's helped bring more people out of extreme poverty than any other development, truly. It provides for clean water sources. It provides people the opportunity to get out of extreme poverty. We need to continue moving towards renewable sources, continue to integrate solar power, wind power, combined with natural gas, and I'm in favor of pursuing nuclear energy as an added energy source so that we can move away from using carbon fuels and towards renewable energies. We need to do it in a smart way and not have a $93 trillion price tag like what's being proposed in Congress by Lauren Underwood and many of her colleagues.
Catalina Love.
You asked what we would do personally for climate change. I echo my colleagues here. There's not enough academic research on climate change. We, of course, all want to have a great environment, but there's not enough academic research on climate change, and I'm certainly not willing to bet an entire economy on trying to find out the way that the Green New Deal does. That's a burden on taxpayers when there are a lot of other issues that should be addressed and solved before we consider climate change.
Sue Rosen, where do you stand on current national immigration policies?
Well, first of all, we need to start with securing our border. I mean, this is a topic that everybody's talking about. You're not a bad neighbor if you lock your door at night or if you make the call who gets to come in and out of your country. This country was founded on legal immigration. We need to secure our borders. That's the first step. And you can do it several ways, obviously with the wall, but there's also technology out there that will help you secure the borders as well.
Anthony Catella.
I certainly believe, as my fellow candidate believes, that we're a nation of immigrants, as all of us believe that. My great-great uncle came from Italy in 1901 and became a lawyer and a candidate for Congress in 1916. I am for immigration. I'm simply not for illegal immigration. And I'm for everybody that wants to become citizens in this country, have a path to citizenship and follow that path or make the decision to return to their country of origin.
Jerry Evans.
Yeah, thank you. America is a nation of the rule of law, and we're a nation of borders. I strongly believe we need to secure the southern border, period. Whether it be building the wall or any other measure that Immigration and Customs Enforcement wants, we need to go ahead and do that. And yes, we should definitely keep Immigration and Customs Enforcement around. We don't need to abolish it. And I support the men and women who serve with ICE. And so I want to let you know that we should secure our border, but also continue to support legal immigration and make sure we have proper pathways to citizenship, whether it be for asylum seekers or refugee seekers or people coming from across the world. My beautiful wife, Lisa, her mother immigrated from Taiwan, and I think that's a beautiful thing. But what was also great about that was that she did it legally. and I support legal immigration, and also making sure that with all the different components of problems with our immigration system, we can go ahead and solve all those things, and we need to do that with compassion. It starts with the law, and it ends with compassion. Thank you.
Ted Gradall.
I agree that this conversation has to start with securing our borders. Interesting experience in this 9 months I've been campaigning. Some of the strongest proponents of bolstering border security are those people who have come here through the legal immigration process. And I think we need to respect that process, strengthen the ability to have legal immigration, and secure our border. I'm pleased to see that since the high point in May, border apprehensions at our southern border have decreased by 70%. That's because President Trump has been working with the countries of Central America. We have agreements in place now with Mexico, with Honduras, with El Salvador, with Guatemala. We're partnering with nations. I think that's an important concept. We need to be leaders on this, but this issue to me starts with secure borders.
Catalina Loff.
I agree here with my colleague Ted. My mother and grandmother came here legally from Guatemala. They worked incredibly hard to come here the right way. They learned the language and they immersed themselves here in the country. And we need to ensure that we are prioritizing the safety and security of Americans, but also not politicizing what is actually going on. We do need immigration reform. We need to focus on how it is affecting the economy, how it's affecting the safety and security of our country, but also doing it in a compassionate way. I firmly stand with President Trump's immigration reform policy, specifically when it comes to merit-based immigration reform.
James Martyr.
So God bless all the folks that came here the right way. Almost every one of us, if not every one of us in this room, had immigrants come from many places in their history all over the world. Numbers USA, great organization. They publish a lot of good information on immigration reform. They rated me as a true reformer, their top rating. Build the wall, secure the border, e-verify for employers, make it mandatory, hold local governments and businesses accountable to enforcing the law and not breaking our law, end birthright citizens, support ICE, require positive reporting of local law enforcement to ICE when they detain illegal aliens, and end the visa diversity lottery. So there's a lot more, but we're running out of time.
Thank you. Anthony Catella, do you support a woman's right to determine and plan for her reproductive health?
I do not support a woman's right to choose the death of her infant within the womb. I'm pro-life, and I brought with me all of these wonderful letters and notes that people from all around the district, Huntley, Illinois, and Decatur, Illinois, Sycamore, all of these people are urging me to be pro-life. They have their candidate in me, because I believe that the pro-life movement is the civil rights and human rights movement of our time. And Alveda King, the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King, stands foursquare for pro-life. And I couldn't understand why the people of the Women's March in Geneva were quoting Dr. King, because Dr. King would be pro-life with me today and all right-thinking human beings. Thank you.
Jerry Evans.
Yeah, thank you. I am 100% pro-life, and I'm absolutely unashamed of that. I want to be very clear. There is no place in a compassionate and humane society to chop up a baby and suck it through a tube. There's no place for that. I'm going to be dead honest with you on that. So I want to let you know that I believe that life begins at conception and all the way till natural death, and that we shouldn't be allowing people to take someone's life early or end someone's life in the womb. And yes, I do believe a child is a person by legal definition, and I will defend its right to live. But also, I want to go ahead and address the women in this room, or the women out there who might be, maybe you know someone who had an abortion, or maybe you yourself, you had an abortion. I also want to let you know that I'm a Christian. I believe in a good God who gives second chances, 100th chances, and a billionth chances. and God loves you, and I accept you. And you're 100% worthy of God's forgiveness, and God bless you. Thank you.
Ted Gradall.
Thank you. As mentioned in my opening statement, again, I was adopted at birth. So for me, it starts with that appreciation and thankfulness for the gift of life that I've been afforded. And so I am pro-life because of my background on that. I applaud the work of organizations in our community like Waterleaf or Corbella Clinic or so many others that provide the counseling and resources for young women going through that very difficult time and that difficult decision process. But I think we're a better society when we find ways to provide the opportunity for life for more people.
Catalina Loff.
I'm pro-life, and it is very sad to me how far left Democrats have gone on this issue. There's very sneaky legislation where they put into creating bills and acting as if Republicans do not want to support women in their reproductive rights, and that's wrong, and we need to combat that.
James Martyr.
First, I want to commend Jerry Evans for a strong stance and for being with me at the March for Life in Chicago with over 9,000 plus activists. I support the reproductive right of the innocent child in the womb. I'm pro-life. I'm 100% pro-life. I'm unapologetically pro-life. I will not rest until we have changed the hearts and minds and have protections for all life. It's every human being is a unique, unrepeatable gift from God. And this is a life from conception. From the moment of conception, it deserves protecting like every other life. We have laws protecting all kinds of animals and eggs and all kinds of things. We need to be protecting human life like we protect everything else. Thank you.
Sue Rosen.
Thank you. In the 10 years that I've been in the Senate, I've voted in support of all of the pro-life legislation and against the funding of abortions. It's something I've always been pro-life, and it's something I will always be. When they brought the bill this year, and it was a very, very far left progressive bill that allowed for late-term abortion up until the day of birth to make it legal. And when we listened to the debate on the floor, they talked about this procedure as a medical procedure, right? I was the closing argument against this bill that would allow for late-term abortions. And I don't care what side of this, political party you're on, what side of the spectrum you're on this issue, nobody supports late-term abortions. Thank you.
Jerry Evans. Who are your corporate donors? What will you do to support your constituents over wealthy corporations?
Yeah, good question. And can you just to make sure I understand, can you clarify corporate donors? Okay. All right. Well,
They asked it.
All right. Sounds.
I'm reading.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, sounds good. Well, what I would say is I am very thankful for the amazing people who have chosen to give into my campaign. From my knowledge, there has not been any type of corporation or someone just coming along and giving me $1 million or something like that. I've had tremendous people that really care about the values of the 14th District. Pro-life values, pro-family values, pro-religious liberty values, pro-business values, pro-Trump values, as well as stopping illegal immigration. All those amazing people support those things, and they've given to my campaign. And ultimately, I think I want to maybe hit the heart of that question, is that I don't have an angle. I don't have an allegiance to some sort of corporation. I don't have allegiance to Washington. I don't have an allegiance to someone else. I just want to go ahead and live a life of self-sacrifice and service the same way that Jesus did. And my ultimate goal isn't being led by money, is being led to get low and to serve. Thank you.
Thanks. Ted Gradall.
Sure, thank you. And when I was doing my soul searching and praying with my family running for office, I floated this idea behind to certain friends and family, and the reception was outstanding. I am proud to say that we have a broad donor base. I have not received any contributions from any corporate PACs or anything like that to date. I'm truly a political outsider. I feel confident in my ability as a person to operate honestly and for the good of you, my bosses, my future bosses, in that if I do take contributions, whether it's from an individual or corporation, I'm going to ask 3 questions when I go to Washington, D.C. to serve you. Is this bit of legislation before me constitutional? Is it good for my constituents? And is it good for my country? Period.
Catalina Love.
So to date, I do not have corporate donors, all been individual contributors. But my question is, how is accepting a corporate check any different than Lauren Underwood accepting checks from George Soros? It is incredibly important to remain true to your values, whether you may be controlled by a person that is funding your campaign or a corporation. So it is up to the ethics and the integrity of the elected official to determine how they comport themselves regardless of who's contributing to their campaign.
James Martyr.
So I too have 0 corporate donors. I have hundreds of grassroots donors. I thank them very much. I am the grassroots candidate, building from the ground up. Everyone knows that. And I'm here to represent people that want a constitutional government return to our great nation in Washington. I look at this stuff, and to me it's really crazy. We got these campaign finance laws that really, they're the incumbent protection plan. It protects the incumbents, both parties. They all do it. We need to get rid of this crazy campaign finance law so that candidates from all walks of life can come up here and compete better. And it's these, and unions are corporations too, by the way. So when they ask about corporate donors, unions are special interests, and God bless the members that they have won their fight, but everyone should have the same rules. So why are the union rules different than the corporate rules? So let's make a fair field. Let's let everyone have their free speech back, First Amendment, and let's get rid of this crazy stuff.
Sue Rosen.
Thank you. I'm going to take a little bit different approach here. I have received support from Caterpillar. Caterpillar is not currently in my Senate district. Caterpillar is the largest employer in the state of Illinois. They employ tens of thousands of people. And the reason that they supported me is because I understand their issues. I work with them in Springfield. I try to help solve problems for them in a challenging state for them to be in. And because of that, they support me. I also represent an energy corridor in my district. Everything from wind, solar, battery, nuclear, natural gas, everything. I understand the issues. And right now we have a lot of challenges that could mean the closures of some very large plants in my district where 3,000 people could be without a job. I'm going to fight for them, and their companies know that I'm here to fight for them as well.
Thank you. Anthony Catella.
Harry Truman used to say that there are 3 things in life that might ruin a man: power, money, and women. Well, I have a serious deficit in all 3 cases, so maybe I won't be ruined. I keep trying, but I never make it. What am I going to do? However, on the bright side of things, I opened up a campaign fund just this week with a $25 contribution from my employer. And I've also been self-funding my own campaign all through this campaign, and I've spent, at this point now, just a little bit over $1,000. Pretty fair laugh.
Okay. Ted Gradall. If elected, what will be your primary goal? Supporting your party or supporting your constituents? And what will you do to work with the other party?
The first job is you're working for your constituents. You're working to make lives better in your community. Top priorities for me would include promoting items like term limits, I mentioned, for members of the House and Senate. I feel like that initiative would bring in candidates, would bring in legislators with a different mindset, more of a get things done mentality. Right now, people are worried about protecting their jobs, and they're allowing the bureaucrats and lobbyists to do the difficult work of legislating because they don't want to take the risk on of tackling tough problems. So if you have the idea of term limits, I think more legislators would be free to work with the other party and to actually get things done for our bosses, for our constituents.
Catalina Loth.
It's very interesting. I was, again, knocking on doors, and one of the people who I was opening the door, said that they had never met Lauren Underwood or Randy Holgren. And I thought to myself, well, isn't that why you want to run for office? I mean, that's what our Constitution says. That's what the representative democracy philosophy was. You are there for your constituents. The power needs to go back to the people, and representatives should not sit in their ivory tower and just dictate what's going on with our lives without actually listening. And it's very important that we listen. But also, and on that note, we need to focus on bipartisanship. Right now, this Democrat-controlled Congress won't even come to the table on important issues. So we need to ensure that we have members that want to be productive and are coming to the table on important issues that are affecting districts all across the country.
James Martyr.
For 34 years, I've worked in the private sector. I work with people from all around the world. I work with anyone who can be reasonable and responsible. Unfortunately, in Congress, we don't have that. So the question was, what will you do to work with the other party? We're not going to Congress to work with the other party. We're going to Congress to work for you the people. And when regardless of what party the folks in Congress are, when there's people that will work together for the people, I'll work with them. You look at this sham impeachment going on in Congress, and you're telling me that's folks working together? We need to stop the madness, stop the craziness, stop all of the abuse of power going on by our Congress, and put some people there that know business, know the real world, know what it's like to have a family and try to make and pay bills, and stop the madness in Washington.
Sue Rosen.
Thank you. Again, in my 10 years in Springfield, I try to work with my colleagues across the aisle. The large issues we don't agree with, in terms of spending, the role of government, taxes. I believe in less government, less taxes, and lower taxes. However, we do find areas that we come to an agreement, and we try to work on. There's a Senate Women's Caucus, and we meet and we try to come together on issues that are important to our state. Currently, I'm working with my colleagues across the aisle and the MK Pritzker on women in prison, and try to change the process and make it help women so they have the skill set they need when they get out of prison to get a job and take care of their children. I've also worked with them on hotspots for crime and gun violence. What can we do for hotspots? So these are issues incredibly important. It's good public policy, and if we can find a common ground, which I try to, on the other issues, we need to, and it's important we do the same in Washington, D.C.
Anthony Catella.
Well, in my closing statement, I'm going to begin with saying we Republicans believe. But at the same time, however, what I'm going to say then is, as we Republicans, it's really what we Americans believe. So in order to work together in Congress and out, is to get to know one another as Americans and find common ground, our common heritage, our common history. And of course, our political parties are a part of our American history. They come out of the movements of our history, the desires of our people, the philosophies of our government, the philosophy of government and of liberty and of freedom. And really, political parties exist for three things. One, to get people together who have common values, to support candidates from those people, and to raise money. And we're back to money again. So that's what political parties are really for. Other than that, we're Americans. We need to be marching forward hand in hand, moving strongly forward, not as Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, or liberals, but as Americans.
Jerry Evans.
Yeah, thank you. I was asked a similar question on a radio appearance a number of weeks ago, and I think one thing that really matters to me in regards to responding to this question is that a congressperson's responsibility is to get low and to serve, and that's what it's about. It's not about getting more famous friends or making more money or this or that. It's just about serving. And one of the tremendous pleasures that I've had is I've had an opportunity to go ahead and campaign to be your next congressperson in the 14th district is just a tremendous opportunity to listen to constituents. Sometimes you'll be so surprised in a good way of what you'll find out if you just listen, and it's been a pleasure. And I talked to a farmer in the southern part of the district, and I'm always struck by how incredibly humble and amazing and hardworking the people of the 14th district are. On top of that, when it comes to working and accomplishing things in Washington, there are certain things that I'm not going to bend on. Being pro-life, protecting religious liberties, stopping human trafficking, and a number of other things. But at the same time, going to Washington and working with people across the U.S., it's very, very important to build consensus, and I definitely believe I can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've had 8 really good questions, really lots of different answers, and I'm told that we need to wrap this forum up, so we're going to start with closing statements, and we're going to start with Catalina Law. 2 minutes. Yes, sorry, 2 minutes.
First of all, thank you all so much again for being here on tonight. I know it's probably a busy night for all of you, and I know we're all eternally grateful that you allowed us to speak our truths and why you should support us. All I ask is that you think about the future. We need to ensure that the American dream is preserved. And without that, our country is lost. What's going on today in our country is very scary. We are one election away from socialism. We are an election away here in this district from not being the Republican district at the heart that it should be. Lauren Underwood does not represent our values at all. But on the Republican side, we need to ensure that we have people who are also representing our values and fighting for freedom. And that means growing the base, focusing on the future, and having new energy and new perspective in the party. When I first launched my campaign, Fox News branded me as the conservative answer to AOC. We need people who are not afraid to be lions in Congress. For far too long, the Republicans have catered to the far left, and this is where we are today. If you want just one of 435 members of Congress, please vote for my opponents, because I will ensure to be a lion on the national scale as politics changes. We need new people, we need new perspectives, and I hope to earn your support on March 17th.
James Martyr, your closing statement?
Life, religious liberty, to worship freely, faith in God, family, those are the most important things to me. My beautiful wife, Jill, of 34 years, who's actually babysitting our granddaughter tonight. We're blessed with our own 4 children and our granddaughter. I've served my communities for more than 25 years as a Boy Scout leader, as an age group swimming coach, and as a basketball coach, much like my colleague over here. I've served the Kendall County Republican Party as the chairman. I've served as a precinct committeeman and worked hard for many other candidates in these last few years. And the thing is we need somebody that will go to Congress and be relentless in the pursuit of stopping the madness, cutting the size and scope of the federal government. I'm going to join the House Freedom Caucus. I'm going to support President Trump and America First. I'm going to stand and fight for your Second Amendment rights. I am going to respect our flag, defend our Constitution, and fight for conservative, pro-life, and pro-family values. I'm going to support term limits. We're going to build the wall. We're going to secure the border. We are going to get the things done that President Trump campaigned on in 2016, and he didn't have a strong enough Congress to help him in the first 2 years. And the last 2 years of this Congress has been an unmitigated disaster. We are under attack. We are under attack from the socialist left, and we need to fight back and take our country back and get back to common sense where people work together, the government works for us, not against us, and not takes our life and liberty away from us.
Sue Rosen.
Thank you. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak at this forum tonight. It's very informational for everyone here, and it allows us to get our message out. The difference between me and the other candidates in this district is running campaigns and winning campaigns. We all talk about our views on issues and what we would do if we had the opportunity, but you have to get into office. And I've had the opportunity in the last 10 years, I've run and I've beat Speaker Madigan's incumbent, where all of the Chicago machine comes in and all of the money comes in to try to beat you, and I was able to prevail. And in the Senate as well, it's a swing district. I've had 3 very competitive races, top-tier races. My 2016 race was over $2 million, and Chicago machine comes in with boots on the ground. It's incredibly important that you send somebody to that makes it through the primary, that can run and win races, and has been vetted. When I am in Springfield, I work on issues that we've talked about and pass them. Pre-existing conditions. I'm in the super minority, and you'll hear from my colleague who's not here that he can't get anything done. He's only passed 1 bill in the 8 years he's been there. Well, I've been there 10 years, and I've gotten a lot done in the super minority that I'm proud of. Again, we don't agree on the big issues, but on important issues that we can get some common sense reform and we need to govern, we do. So I've worked in past pre-existing conditions to protect people as we figure out health care. I've also worked on the Fair Maps Amendment, which is incredibly important. We need maps that are drawn by population, not maps that are drawn by political party. If you want to get corruption and truly get to the root of corruption, that's what we need in Springfield, and I'm proud to be a sponsor. I work on local projects. I started a high school internship program, paid project-based internships. We've had 200 in the last 5 years for our high school interns. I've also helped to start an operating engineer and technician program to start creating that pipeline for kids after they graduate high school. My work's not done. I hope to take that same energy to Washington, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Anthony Catella.
Fellow citizens, fellow candidates, we Republicans, as good Americans, believe in liberty. I heard it said some weeks ago, some months back at another convocation, that the Republican Party believes in liberty, the Democratic Party believes in equality. But guess what? Americans believe in liberty and equality. Thomas Jefferson, who happened to be a Democratic Republican, wrote, "I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man." This is the eternal answer to every form of tyranny. Man is not made for the state is made for man. Society is the servant of the individual, and the ingenuity of the individual is the source of progress, thus fulfilling the promise of our essential democracy. We are a strong society built upon the granite ideals of the Western ideals, of the human ideals of Western civilization: individual liberty, representative government, and the rule of law with faith in God. In the words of a great president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, whose birthday we honor today, closing his final State of the Union message 3/4 of a century ago, "We pray that we may be worthy of the unlimited opportunities that God has given us." Thank you, God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
Jerry Evans.
Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters and the Batavia Chamber of Commerce. Thanks so much. I really believe that this election is about transparency and authenticity. And it has been my goal to be transparent with you. I strongly believe that I'm the candidate in the race who's not only best equipped to take back the 14th district, but the most consistent candidate on the stage who is best equipped to represent you. And I mean that with great respect to the rest of the candidates here. I don't care about ego. I just care about living a life of service and self-sacrifice the same way that Jesus did, so that I can best serve the 14th district. I want to make sure that healthcare costs are affordable. And I have a plan and solution to achieve that goal, which creates undoubted coverage for people with pre-existing conditions. I want to protect our jobs and continue to allow our economy to thrive. As a small businessman who has built the American dream, I understand how to properly support the economy that President Trump has built. We need additional tax cuts on the middle class to allow our economy to thrive. And yes, I do support President Trump very strongly. I support his economic and legislative agenda, and I'm proud to do that. Lastly, I want to stand up for life, secure our southern border, and end the heinous crime of human trafficking. I would love for an opportunity to talk with you. And at the end of the evening, I want to let you know that I want to bring back your values and your voice to the House of Congress, or the halls of Congress. I would be absolutely humbled and honored to have your vote on March 17th. Thanks so much for your consideration.
Ted Gradall.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to appear here before you tonight, and thank you for your thoughtful questions. My organization, grassroots organization, is very strong. In fact, we collected more signatures, over 3,000, triple the need, the necessary signatures to get on the ballot. I also have a strong donor network. I've raised more than any other candidate from outside donors in this race. I'm fighting hard to unite all of us in the mission to flip this seat back to the Republican Party. Please remember on March 17th that a vote for me is a vote for freedom, for constitutional rights, and for conservative values. It's a vote for holding government accountable. It's a vote for the humility that comes with nearly 30 years of marriage and raising 3 wonderful daughters. And it's a vote for the accumulated wisdom of a 30-year career in the private sector. It's a vote for continuing the policies of President Trump and putting America first, and a vote to defeat the radical policies of Lauren Underwood, who I believe does not represent the values of our community. My name is Ted Gradall, and I'm the best choice to represent you and our Republican Party on March 17th. I'm a political outsider who loves our country and is ready to serve. I kicked footballs in college. I'm ready to go kick some tails in Congress. Let's win this race together. Thank you, and God bless America.
To the audience, thank you all for your thoughtful and many questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to them all. And I would ask you all to please give our candidates a round of applause for being here. Okay, we're going to have a 5-minute break.
We're done?
Sorry.
I think so. Ted. Ted, good job, man. Good job, buddy. Catella, you get the joke of the night? You get the joke of the night, buddy.
They were.
Congratulations on the joke of the night. Blessings.
We will be seating the candidates for the 65th in 5 minutes. How many questions were from the audience? All of those questions were from the audience. No, what these guys do, I'm Patty Lackman and you are? Okay. What we do is we
Right, I saw it.
all the questions. That's one out of
Yes, all right, thanks. That's right. Batavia Terrible. That's right. I think it's Finley and Cole.
yeah.
John going up.
If you could please take your seats. My hearing aid just rang.
Good, how are you? I am Mo. You don't sit up here just yet. My opponent isn't here, so they're gonna call you up after I'm finished.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you're the only one? Or
Yeah, I'm the only one.
can I sit here?
Not yet. They're gonna call you.
Yeah, okay, they will call us. Okay. And what is your opponent? What are you?
25th Senate District, my
Oh,
opponent isn't coming.
oh, he didn't show up. Okay. You're the only one.
I'm going to respond to that email to tell her we're all at a forum, and then we'll look at it later.
I think Kathy was going to.
She just told me to answer it.
All right.
Kathy, sorry.
No, I don't think so. Oh, these questions, Patty? No, not yet. Okay, everybody who's hugging and talking, go out there. Okay, that was not these, okay. So we had the State Senate District 25 scheduled, but Beth Goncher emailed us today and said that she would not be participating. So we are allowing Jeanette Ward a 2-minute statement.
Yes, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and allowing me to say a few words. I'm Jeanette Ward, and I'm running for Illinois State Senate District 25 to defend life, liberty, sound fiscal policy, parental freedom, and the Second Amendment. I'll focus briefly on fiscal policy and life. Fiscally, Illinois needs pension reform and ethics reform. We need to keep our promises to retirees, but we need to switch to new hires to a 401k type system and ensure that double dipping is ended. Ethics reform should remove the revolving door between legislators and lobbyists. And legislators shouldn't be voting where they have a conflict of interest. And maybe, just maybe, the Speaker of the Illinois House shouldn't also be chairman of his state's political party. Government should work for you, the people, not the other way around. We need to promote a culture of life in Illinois. We can disagree on the abortion issue, but no one should be forced to pay for another person's choice. I agree with President Trump that every child is a precious and sacred gift from God. The Illinois Reproductive Health Act must be repealed. As a school board member on the largest elected school board in Illinois, I voted no on increasing taxes, and I promoted a culture of life. My opponent didn't think it was worth her time to be here tonight to share her views with you. She's been a political employee on the taxpayer's dime for 15 years. She answers to insiders, not to you. I will answer to you. I'm Jeanette Ward, and I'm asking for your vote on March 17th.
Okay, could the candidates for State Rep District 65 please come up? All right, so we're ready to start. our forum for the two candidates running to represent the Democrats for the State Representative District 65. Those two candidates are Mohammad Iqbal and Martha Paschke. Both of these candidates have agreed to abide by the rules set forth to this forum, and we're going to use the same setup that we used for the congressional district. We'll use a 2-minute introductory statement. We're going to go in order of alphabetical, and then questions obtained from the floor. And look at all these questions we've got here. 1 minute, and then closing statements of 2 minutes. League members will keep time. You see the timers over here, candidates. Hold up your, there you go. When you see the stop sign, you can finish your sentence. All right. Let's start with Mohammad Iqbal's opening statement.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Mo Iqbal. I have lived in Illinois for 45 years and in district for 35 years. Professionally, I'm not limited to one profession. I'm a licensed professional engineer with a PhD in civil engineering from Washington University in St. Louis. Also, I'm a lawyer. I have a law degree from NIU College of Law and a postgraduate law degree from John Marshall Law School. I also have an MBA in finance from the University of Chicago. I have served as a corporate counsel for many years for an international firm here in Elgin. In 2018, I was elected to the county board, and I'm serving at present time. Also, I'm serving as a chair of the Census 2020 Complete Count Committee. I am not new to public service. In Elgin, I have served on the several commissions. The City of Elgin has a Human Relations Commission I served on, Image Advisory Commission I served on, and the Elgin Public Library, which is the Gail Borden Public Library, I've served on their foundation for many years. I'm married to my wife, Nazreen, for 40 plus years, and I have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. My siblings are, they include physicians, neurologist, pediatrician, and a brother from the U.S. Air Force. He's a veteran. If I elected, I have 3 priorities. Number 1, to reduce property taxes or at least freeze them for 5 years. Pension reform and corruption in Springfield. Corruption is remnant and we have to control it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Martha Paschke.
Hi, my name is Martha Paschke. I'm excited to be here tonight and wanted to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event so that voters can be informed when they head to the polls. I am a mom of 3 amazing kids. I have experience working in women's health, in education, and currently work in mental health. I also have a long history of volunteering in my community, both through my church, as a Girl Scout leader. I'm a secretary on the Geneva Library Foundation, and I also helped to get the local Moms Demand Action group started and served as co-lead. I have been compelled to run for this office through those experiences that I've had with the people that I've worked with or volunteered with or met in my community, whose voices are not necessarily always represented or heard. The 6-year-old that I had to tell she was on her own if a shooter came into the school, that she should just stand up on the toilet and stay there by herself. The parent who called into the office to cancel their own therapy appointment because they couldn't afford theirs and their child's. The 3rd grader who met me at the door the other day, who excitedly took my walk card and looked it over carefully to make sure the environment was listed on there because that's what she cares about. These are the people that I want to represent in Springfield, and I'm excited to work hard to earn their trust and respect.
Thank you. We're going to start with questions, and we start with Martha Paschke first. How do you decide how to fund new projects? By reducing spending or with new taxes?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think it has to be a complex balance. If we're funding new projects, we need to look at what is the project and where does it make sense to get that funding from, what pool of money. We do have a budget issue in our state, so it would be irresponsible to just keep spending more without being careful about it. But we also need to be careful about not asking taxpayers for too much. So it's a balance and it's a matter of responsibility.
Iqbal. Same question.
I would cut the spending. I believe the spending is out of control. We are taxed a lot. We should look at the cost-benefit ratio of every project that we undertake. If it brings it more benefit, we should pursue it. If it brings more cost and not enough benefit, we shouldn't pursue it.
Thank you. And we're going to go right back to you on a redistricting question. Do you support an amendment to the Illinois Constitution to end gerrymandering by creating a nonpartisan commission tasked with drawing Illinois legislative maps?
Yes, I do. This district that we have, number 65, is a example of gerrymandering. It starts here in Batavia and keeps going north up to Elgin, Gilbert, and beyond county line. It goes into McHenry, and I think that's wrong. That's not a good representation. In democracy, I think people should be represented equally. We should not choose the voters. The voters should choose us.
Thank you. Martha Paschke.
I would agree. I'd also be in favor of seeing fair maps in Illinois. Gerrymandering is an issue we've seen come up time and time again in our elections, and it is something that there are many people working towards remedying to help our elections remain free and fair.
Martha, this question you will start with. What would you do to ensure that sensible, common sense gun reform legislation, like the bio bill, fix the void, to fix loopholes in Illinois is passed?
Obviously, as a former co-leader of the local Moms Demand Action Group, this is a very important issue for me. I believe that the bio bill, the banning illegal ownership bill, we need to make sure that it's funded. And I know our current rep is opposed to adding a fee to the cost of the FOID card in order to fund that, so that the authorities have the resources necessary to retrieve those guns from people who should no longer have them. So I'm firmly in support of passing that bill.
Thank you. Iqbal.
I support Second Amendment, but I also recognize that people with mental illness or violent propensities like terrorists and so forth should not have a chance or should not have an opportunity to have guns. I think that's where we should control the guns.
Thank you. We'll start with you. Iqbal, do you favor amending Illinois' Affordable Housing Planning and Appeal Act to make explicit its applicability to home rule communities? Why or why not?
Could you repeat affordable?
Yes, I could. Do you favor amending Illinois' Affordable Housing Planning and Appeal Act to make explicit its applicability to home rule communities? Why or why not?
Honestly, I'm not familiar with this act, so I cannot say that. I don't know why they should be targeted or should be given this opportunity to be the home rule and not everyone else. So on the face, I would oppose it.
Marcia Paschke? I'm sorry, Martha.
You're fine. So I'm also not familiar with this specific bill. I am a supporter of creating opportunity for affordable housing in communities. I would love to explore this more and speak with the person that had this question so that I can learn more about this and be more informed. Thank you.
So Martha, please tell me how you feel about the current status of Dreamers and immigration today.
Honestly, I worry about the people themselves who are here as Dreamers, who are protected under that, the Dreamers Act, and who feel threatened by the current atmosphere and the current administration. They did the right things under the current act, and they should be protected. Immigration is also a complex issue. The people that have come here seeking safety that our country's offered historically. And yes, it's great if people can come here legally. If people have come here seeking refuge, they should be treated fairly and not treated the way they're currently being treated.
Mo Iqbal?
Well, I'm an immigrant myself. I came here 50 plus years ago when I was a young man. I had a scholarship to study here, for which I'm thankful to the United States government who provided me that fund. I believe people should come legally, but if they come and they have children, it's not the fault of the children. If the child has performed well in school and does not have criminal record, he is an asset to the society. So I think he should be treated favorably for in immigration.
Thank you. Mo Iqbal, what is your position on the Equal Rights Amendment?
I support Equal Rights Amendment, but even I think Equal Rights Amendment will confirm women's right for equal pay for equal job, and that is fundamental. Even without it, there are laws. 14th Amendment, for example, guarantees equal treatment.
Thank you. Martha Paschke?
I am definitely a fan of the ERA. I'm also really proud of the work that the former representative of the 65th, Steve Anderson, has done in many states, not just Illinois, to promote the ERA. And I am hopeful that despite the rhetoric right now, that they can change that, the 7-year time limit, and actually pass the ERA nationally.
Martha, do you support the Clean Energy Jobs Act? Why or why not?
I absolutely do. There's no doubt that science has shown our climate is being affected by humans, and we need to take immediate action. Many scientists are actually saying it's too late to really get started, but we need to do everything that we can, and the Clean Energy Jobs Act is a great start for the state of Illinois. It will not only improve our environment and protect it for future generations, but it will also help to bring jobs to Illinois and revenue.
Thank you. Mo Iqbal.
I absolutely support it. I think it's an excellent way to develop new technologies and also to make the environment cleaner for us. We need clean air, clean water, and cut down our carbon footprint. So clean energy jobs, the Clean Energy Job Act will go a long way in that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mo Iqbal, this questioner was very precise. consolidation of local governments. What will you do?
Well, it's a very broad question. The question is, we have so many local government. If you look at your property bill, there are 15 or 16 different kind of lines. Line, and then the pension plan, and then this. We have a county, we have a township, we have a library, we have a fire district, so forth. Could they be consolidated and to cut down the administration cost? Personally, at the county board, I have proposed two amendments, the ballot question, which may be on the November issue. One is, the size of the board is 24 right now in Kane County. Can we cut down to 18? 18 is the maximum that DuPage is living with. But Kane has 24, and that means a lot of cost. I mean, we could save $500,000 by cutting the number. Thank you.
Martha Paschke, consolidation of local governments. What will you do?
I actually think that's kind of risky because we need to look at the jobs that would be lost and consider those people who would lose their jobs if we move on something like that. I understand that it could be a cost saving, and cost saving is generally a good thing, but I would definitely need to take into consideration the jobs that would be affected.
Okay, staying with you, do you support the gas tax that just passed in Illinois?
I hadn't thought about that too much, but I know the state needs the revenue, and increasing the tax on gas is one way of achieving that. I guess I'm neither pro or con at this moment.
Mo Iqbal.
Yeah, being on the county board, I value this source of revenue. We need better infrastructure. This county has grown so much, and the infrastructure has not kept up with the growth. We have road that should be 4-lane, but there are only 2 lanes. And in Elgin area where I live, we have quite a bit of problem. We have no crosswalk where people only jaywalk, and one person got killed. So this tax from 18 cents to 35 cents per gallon goes a long way, and it is used locally, so it stays within the community. So I support it.
Thank you. Mo Iqbal, what is your stance on legislation concerning what a person can do with their bodies?
It's a two-edged thing. Number one, about the abortion. Number two, near the death, can you commit suicide or can you have an assisted suicide? So there are two issues there. I support the first one. I think the mother, the female carrying the fetus, has the right. She can determine what it is. Towards the end of the life, that is another question. I don't know the answer at this point. I think sometime it is necessary to get the help and end one's life, but it's a hard question.
Thank you. Martha Paschke.
Yes, I believe all people should have bodily autonomy.
Martha Paschke, will you commit to holding regular and open town halls?
Absolutely. I could not even fathom doing this job without constant input from constituents.
Thank you. Mo Iqbal.
Could you please repeat the question?
Will you commit to holding regular and open town hall meetings?
Oh, definitely. It has to be done.
Mo Iqbal, your position on property tax.
Property taxes are too high, and we have to, and they are either the highest in the nation or one below New Jersey. Regardless, we have to cut them down. My suggestion is to freeze them for 5 years and let the governmental body, the local government that depend on it, should sharpen their pencils and live within the means. It also is connected with what is happening with the pension funds. The pension funds are out of control, and the money that a lot of communities that get the money from property taxes, instead of spending it on the citizens or on the roads and infrastructure, they spend it on paying for the retirees, which they have not done it. They promised to retirees, but didn't do it, and now they have to do it.
Thank you. Martha Paschke, your position on property tax.
So, property taxes in Illinois are local, and most of that money is going to schools. And the reason our property taxes are as high as they are in Illinois is that the state hasn't been funding education the way that it should. If you look at our neighboring state of Indiana, people all look over there and say, oh, their property taxes are so low, that's wonderful. That's because their state is paying more than 20% more towards education. So they're able to have lower property taxes. If the state of Illinois can start funding education the way that it should, then we can see some property tax relief.
Martha Paschke, please tell me your position regarding public schools and banning of books.
Yee, don't ban books. I love books. I love all the books. My favorite room at Harvey's Tales is the banned books room. Yes, please don't ban any books. Kids need access to books, and all reading is good reading. Yes.
Mo Iqbal.
Certainly, no, I'm not banning any books. One of the reasons that I immigrated and stayed here were the libraries and the books, and the libraries have been my second home. So I love books. Thank you.
Mo Iqbal. Illinois is underfunding for pension $200 billion or $137 billion. Should we pass an amendment about it?
Based on my calculation, the number is more than 200 billion combined, state, which is 150 billion, and the local government that are short on the funding, that's more than 50, that's close to 60. So what should we do about it? We have promised to the retirees that they will get pension, but the politicians for the last 50 years have not funded it. They promised it. Those were empty promises. And the Constitution, our Illinois Constitution says that their benefits should not be infringed. And we have to live by the contract that we have. So this is a very tough question. I think all parties should get together and decide what to do. The benefits, some of the benefits that have been given to the retirees are out of line. For example, they have a 3% COLA, cost of living, whereas we don't get raised 3%.
Thank you. Martha Paschke.
So I would agree that any solution for pension issue needs to be worked on by all stakeholders. I've talked with teachers. My husband's a teacher. I'm a former teacher. Teachers are willing to get creative and help out to make pensions secure and safe for the future. They've worked hard for those. They've contributed. My husband's contributed to his for 18 years. So we do need to shore those up. We need to secure them for the future. And it's sad to me to see the Tier 2 pensions created for new teachers because they don't have the same future to look forward to. And they're already living in an economy where they're struggling more than earlier generations did.
So let's stay with the whole tax issue. And do you support the fair tax in Illinois? And this goes to Martha Paschke first.
I absolutely support the fair tax. There's no doubt that Illinois needs revenue, and the fair tax is a great way to do that, while also combating income inequality and asking the wealthy to pay their share.
Mo Iqbal.
Well, there are two issues. I talked to number one, people like flat tax is simpler. Progressive tax taxes the wealthy more. At this point, I would say since the state needs the money, let's go with a progressive tax. But the flat tax is a better one.
Let's start with Mo Iqbal. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you? You answered the fair tax. Yes. Mental health is much in the news now. How important do you believe mental health services are? Do you believe we have adequate resources? If not, what are your plans for increasing resources?
Mental health is an issue that has been neglected. In the county, we have 7 or 8 boards, but Elgin area and Dundee area, which is part of this, I think partially part of this district, is now having this referendum to have 7 or 8 boards. If it passes, then it will increase the property tax by at least $50. And there are issues, what would be that board? Who would, it would not be elected, it would be selected by somebody. Would they do a good job? I support 7 or 8 boards, but I have questions about the board itself.
Martha Paschke.
So yes, I actually currently work in mental health. I do believe that we need to improve access and affordability for mental health across the board for everybody. One major issue that we're seeing right now is a shortage of mental health providers, particularly psychiatrists, and providers who can take Medicaid patients. I think one thing that we should be looking at is the idea of student loan forgiveness for people who are working with at-risk populations as mental health providers. And we also need to make sure that no matter what, the state is funding mental health services and not cutting funding to those services.
Thank you. Martha Paschke, what are your feelings regarding public versus charter education?
I'm a public school teacher. My husband's a public school teacher. I absolutely support public schools 100%. No questions.
Mo Iqbal.
I support public school. My children went to public school, and I think they got good education. I went to the hearing when there was a the charter school issue in Elgin area, and there were good questions raised on both sides. I think people have good argument on both sides, but I would support public schools.
Okay, what are your top 5 priorities for veterans and military members? Mo Iqbal.
My top priorities are property taxes, freeze the levy, improve local roads, pension reform.
This question was about veterans and military members.
Veterans and homelessness are somehow related, which they should not be. We had a death of a veteran which was in the news, and he was homeless and he was forgotten. And I believe these are the folks who served our country and risked their life, and they should not be forgotten, and they should be taken care of.
Thank you. Martha Paschke.
So this actually ties into mental health. Many veterans struggle with PTSD. We have high suicide rates among veterans. And we need to make sure that services are accessible for them in the areas where they are, and that our communities are supporting them and providing for them in that way.
Okay, so we've had 17 questions, and it was like the lightning round. You guys are really quick. So let's move into our closing statements. And Martha Paschke, you can go first.
I've lived in this community for going on 18 and a half years now. And the one thing that I'm proudest of is the trust that I've gained from the people that I've worked with, the people that I've volunteered with, and the people that I interact with daily. Trust is a hard thing to gain. And I know in this election, it might be even harder because there are so many more people to get out there and meet and speak to. But I hope that I can earn the trust of everybody. And I hope that you can talk to your friends and neighbors. I'd love to meet as many people as possible. I'm getting out there every day after work. I'll be out there on my scooter as soon as it's warm, meeting as many voters as I can. And I really want to earn your trust so that you can vote for me on March 17th, or starting next week, early voting February 6th, if you're eager. And I'm excited to represent the people and the values in the community that I've grown to love.
Thank you. Oh, Iqbal.
Yeah, thank you. By this time, you have gathered that I am a centrist, I'm a fiscally conservative person, and socially liberal. And this is what the values are in this district. I ran in 2018, and I was the only person who won from the northern part of the county, particularly this district 65. I wish there would be more Democratic people, members on the board, but I'm the only one from this district. My priorities, if elected, would be property tax freeze, improve the roads, which I'm doing right now on the county board. Pension reforms, I think we have a crisis in Illinois, and we need to solve it. Consolidate the government, ethics reform, and the lobbyist registration reform. I think they go hand in hand. If we solve the ethics and ethic problem, we would save a lot of waste, a lot of money that is being wasted, and we get rid of the corrupt people from the Springfield. And that's my reason for running, to bring honesty and good faith in government. I hope you will consider me on March 17th. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's give these candidates some applause. So this ends our event for tonight. Remember that this is a primary and election, and a voter is required to pick just one party's ballot to vote. We appreciate your participation, whether you are a candidate or a voter. It's essential to preserving our freedom in our country. Please remember to vote on or before March 17th. Thank you.